Tuesday, 11th of May, the English garden in springtime. English edible garden in springtime. Okay, to be truthful, I did actually, this is my third attempt at doing this. Thursday's or Friday's event, I forgot to press record, so I did the whole thing around the garden and it didn't record, and by then the weather was so foul I just didn't do it again. And then I just tried to do it another time this evening and I got a phone call halfway through, so hopefully this time, third time lucky. Here we go, around the garden. So I have just given the lettuces and the 4 outside tomatoes, and that's quite bright, isn't it? The 4 outside tomatoes and the beans a watering with some water and some nettle fertiliser that I made last year. I gathered the nettles, chopped them up, put them in a bin, added water, put a lid on them and left them, and they really did stink badly, but I've drained out all the nettles themselves and I've just left with the liquid now, and I've left the lid on all winter and the smell's just about gone. It's just this murky greenish coloured liquid now, so I've just put some in a watering can and watered the tomatoes and beans and the lettuces. I'm fairly sure that nettle is quite good for green stuff as opposed to fruiting stuff, but Dad did point out that the beans were looking a bit pale. He didn't point out that they're looking a bit devoid of leaves, but I thought it might be a good idea just nourish them a little bit. You might notice that there's a couple of little beans in here, little plants. We've got one here, and there's one over there, and there's another bean there. When we got back on Friday from a few days away, there was quite a few casualties, so a number of the beans had carked it, and a couple of the cucumbers in the greenhouse had also suffered some fatality. But luckily there was a plant sale in the village hall on Saturday morning, so we went and got replacements, which was quite handy. Cucumbers are still looking a bit sorry for themselves, not really doing a great deal yet. Tomatoes are actually getting some flowers on, which is quite nice, outside tomatoes. You can see that the sweet peas are coming on quite well, and all of those, hopefully, those little green jobs there, hopefully they're not weeds, hopefully they are little flowers eventually, along with the occasional self-seeded nasturtium. One there, another one here. You can see that I planted the mimulus, so I've done them in a little border around the edge of what is basically the flower garden, such that it is. So we will have sweet peas, drifts of wildflowers, the occasional nasturtium, my little blue jobs, and yes, the mimulus. I've decided that, if you see here, these are our solar powered lights that come on at night. I've decided that I want lots of those in the garden. They're very low maintenance, they just do their own thing, and then at night they light up the garden. So I think that I might be suggesting as if anybody ever wants to bring us a present, I'd say bring us a couple of solar powered lights for lighting up our garden at night time. So if I go along here, try and get out of the sun. Those are not self-seeded, those are ones I seeded, all of those nasturtiums. They should come up quite well and hopefully cover all this skanky bit at the bottom of the fence. Sunflowers have come up well. Dad and Benta came on Sunday and I donated a couple of very tall sunflowers that Dad wants against the wall, so hopefully he's planted them and they're doing well. There's a few little flowers coming on the strawberries here, which is quite encouraging, seeing as how these are just from the runners from last year, and they spent all winter sitting in pots on top of the coal bunker. It's amazing they've come on at all, to be honest. But I think they'll do well, and they'll do very well for next year, assuming of course the birds don't get them. John was very busy on Saturday. We're fed up with things coming into our garden and then digging up the plant beds. So this one just has a fence all the way around it. We're hoping that the pigeons will be too fat to take off, so they won't get in there and eat all the peas, but at least something will stop digging at the edges there, because it was really getting quite frustrating. Don't have quite the amount of plants in there that I kind of feel we should have, but the chard, two rows of chard and a row of beetroot, and I think the second row of beetroot is just coming in along here, which is good. Quite a few peas coming up. I might have to fill in the gaps. The original row's doing really well at last. It seems to have taken ages for them to actually germinate, but the last few days they've really taken off, which is very encouraging. John put some netting around the broccoli in hopes that it will keep the cabbage whites off. The garden was decimated by cabbage whites yesterday. Luckily the nasturtiums took the hit, but they were really just like skeleton bits of leaves. Yeah, there's the broad beans coming on, and I must say the sweet corn's doing very well there, and the beans. It's amazing to think those beans were planted the same time as the one in the little bed over the other side, and look how much better those ones are doing. That'd be a lesson to you. Asparagus still doing its thing. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to earth it up around the side so it doesn't lean over at that crazy angle, so I'll have to do something about that at some point. There's the bay that Alice gave us. You can see the perennial sweet pea just finally coming in, and they got planted at the same time as these ones, and they're just taking forever. Sweet peas just take forever. Apparently you should soak them and nick the outside, and that makes them germinate faster, so maybe next year I'll do that. Not sure what's in this. Obviously sweet corn in that side, and oregano, or oregano if you're an American. Into the greenhouse. Tomatoes are looking mighty fine. Look at those, aren't they huge? Already 2 sets of trusses coming on this front one. Oh dear, I fear that this might be... it looks a bit floppy, doesn't it? I think that might be another casualty. We did buy some spares just in case, because I suspected that might happen. I don't know what the problem is. I'm pretty sure they're just too wet. Alright, sorry John. I'll just do that for now. That's John's automatic watering system. These are the replacement cucumbers that we bought on Saturday, so hopefully they'll be okay. No idea what they are, it just says cucumber F1. Those little tomatoes, those are going to be my bush tomatoes. Lettuces are going great guns at the back there. A couple more sunflowers. I think you've seen all these. There's a few more extra beans there that we'll use probably to fill in some more gaps. Again, picked up at the village hall on Saturday. But these are getting flowers. Look, that's a bit worrying. I might have to replace one of the courgettes that's out there at the moment. Back to the chilies, more chilies. Look, we're actually getting chilies, I think. John said we were getting chilies. Can't see any. But there's lots of flowers. These are all the super chilies doing really, really well. I'm not sure what we can do to try and encourage the habanero to actually start producing some flowers. It's all very well having these lovely big leaves, but I'm not going to eat leaves. Honesty's coming up nicely, which is good. Yep, the giant pumpkin's doing well. Check that out. That's the one Dad gave us. And those are the warty pumpkins. Got a warty pumpkin from Dad last year and kept a few seeds. That's doing very well. Very strong looking. Potatoes in sacks. I'll have to earth them up soon. Clematis is coming on nicely from next door. Looks really nice. Oh yes, and here we are. This is my murky greenness, which is the nettle stuff I made last year. Doesn't smell anywhere near as bad as it did, but oh my goodness, it was horrible. This is John's pride and joy, the hot bin. So look at the temperature it is. 40 degrees. That's quite high. So all of this is plasticky stuff. Wow, look at that. Phew, that's a bit stinky. You put some grass in there at the weekend, that seems to have done the trick. You see here, yes, he did cut the grass. I don't know if you can see. There's an awful lot of dandelion heads sticking up. I think they just get flattened as he drives over them, and then they pop up again afterwards. They don't get cut off. But it did look quite nice with all the dandelions and daisies, but it's not very traditional, is it? Kale still going strong. There's the rogue broccoli coming up, and the rhubarb's doing well. This courgette's all right. This one not so good. I did notice a couple of pigeons either having a fight or getting jiggy with it yesterday. Yeah, I don't know if they thought it was some sort of a nest, but didn't look very good. But you see, this is the little Italian one, and then the other one on the right is the regular green one. So, go figure. Potatoes doing well. Again, another feeble little rondo, I think it is. Or is it? No, actually, that's a green one. Mr. McGregor, whatever it is. Well, I'm sure it'll catch up. And then down here, this is the rondo, I think. Yep, and look at how many flowers there are on those strawberry plants. That is going to be amazing. But we have to get some netting on there soon, because if they start developing into strawberries and the birds discover them, there'll be no stopping them. So on that note, having finally made it round the garden, I shall finish today's tour around the garden.